Hello everybody, welcome back today. Today we're going to be going over question number 56 on LeetCode, which is called merge intervals, and let's get straight into it. All right, so I'm going to explain this on my iPad here. And so here we have the question, right? Merge intervals, and we're given that, you have this 2D vector or array, right? And in this 2D vector, you have these arrays that are of size 2, and we want to merge these intervals. So this means is like, let's think about this on like a number line, right? So if I think about this on like a number line here, if I have 1, then I have 3, then I have 2, then I have 6, then I have 8, then 10, and yeah, this is not to scale obviously, but let's just say this is 8, 15, and somewhere here is 18, right? So what it wants me to do is like, it wants me to merge these intervals, right? So here we can see that like this 2 and 6 overlaps here with this 1 and 3. So this would actually become 1, 6. 8 and 10 are good, and 15 or 18 are good. So what this actually turns out to be is what they give us the answer, right? So how do we do this, right? Like, yeah, the number line kind of helps us think about it, but to kind of go about finding the solution, we have to think about what we actually did. So what does this number line actually say? Well, it tells us like we want to have these in sorted order, right? Because number line is sorted and it's increasing order. So if you want to have it in sorted order here, um, first we need to make sure that this input 2D vector is actually sorted. So first step is sorted. And LeetCode kind of tricks you here, but the input's not guaranteed to actually be sorted. Although their input that they give as the examples are, you're not guaranteed. So first we need to actually sort this 2D vector. So we now have it sorted. Now how do we like actually merge about it? So how do we know like how to merge, right? So the way to think about it is like let's say you are given like these two intervals, right? 1, 3 and 2, 6. How do I know to merge these, right? So I'm thinking like you look at the second element of the first one and then the first element of the second one. And the thing is, this is where you see the pattern. If the first element or the first 2D array, right, or the first array right here, this element, the second part of it, that one is actually greater than or equal to, then we know that we can merge. And why do we know that? Because it's sort of like our number line here, 1 and 3, and then we have 2 and 6. If this one is going to be greater than this one, as shown right there, then these are going to actually replace spots on the number line, right? So that means we can actually merge them. So what does that mean now what do we mean by merging? So we want to make this 1, 6, right? But also there could be a case where it's like 1, 3, and this is sorry, let's change this to 1, 5 actually. So there's a case this could be 1, 5, and this could be 2, 4. This still requires overlap because right on the number line is 1, 5, and then there's 2, 4, right? But this is still overlapping. This should kind of just go away. So how do we go about this? The way to go about this is like you want to take the minimum of the starting point. So here in this case, the minimum is 1, and then you want to take the maximum of the ending points, right? So here 3 or 6, which one is max is 6. So that's why we get 1 comma 6 here. So that's how we want to go about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically have a iteration through the 2D array, and we don't need to actually have a double for loop because it's a 2D array, because we know that each individual array is guaranteed to be at most and is always going to be equal to size 2. So we just need one iteration through the 2D vector, right? So we iterate through the 2D vector here and 2D array. Iterate and try to find this relationship, right? So plus the greater than or equal to relationship. But another thing that this question wants is actually wants the merge intervals, right? So how do we go about doing that? So we're basically going to create a new 2D array, and then we're going to push these merge intervals into that. So when after we merge an interval, we push it into the vector. But how do we go about, like comparing it with the next one, right? Because if you think about it, I can't just compare 2, 6 to 8, 10, right? I need to compare after I merge it, which would be 1, 6. I need to compare that one, right? That's how I'll actually know if there's actually an overlapping interval. So how we do that is we always know, since that we're in sorted order, we know that the last element in our new 2D array that we're creating, that's the one we need to compare with, because every element after that we know is going to be greater. So if there's any overlap, it'll only be with the last one. It can't be with any of the previous ones, right? And this will hold for all the elements. So what we want to do is we want to always compare with compare with last element, and that helps us, actually merge the intervals and actually get the new 2D vector. So we can try this on this input that they give us. So we check here. We have only 2, so we only need to check with 1, 4, and 2, 4, 5. We check, is this greater than or equal to? It is. So then we take the minimum, which is 1, and then we take the maximum, which is 5, which is exactly what they want, right? So that's how you do it. And so let's go to the code, and that will make a little bit more sense.
All right, so let's get started here with the solution. So I'm going to be doing this in C++, but you could honestly do this in any language. But yeah, so basically first I'm just going to create the 2D vector array, which is going to be our answer. So this is actually what we're going to return at the end. So you can see I'm just going to lay out that part right there from the start. Then what we want to do is we want to sort this, right? We know that it's not guaranteed to be sorted. So the way to sort this in C++ is to just do this. And what this is actually doing is it's sorting based on of each element's first element. So this 0th index over each of these arrays is sorting based off of that. So in that case, we know that whenever we're like looking at two intervals, we know the minimum one is always the first interval that we're looking at, right? In that sequential order. Another thing I want to do is I want to just push the first element in intervals. And why am I doing that is because you know how we talked about we're going to look at the last element every time we want to merge our interval. So that allows me, like doing this allows me to have that last element instead of it being empty. So we don't have these like extra checks that we have to do. But that just means that we start from the first index in this intervals array, right? Or vector. So start like that here. And here we're going to do that relationship checking that we talked about. So what does that mean? So I'm going to go to the last element, right? So that's answers, and that's at the index answer size -1. And that last element, we're going to check the first index position, which is essentially the second element, correct? Is that one greater than or equal to the current intervals element, right? And its first position, which is the 0th index, right? So is this true? If this is true, then we want to merge intervals here, right? So this case tells us, yeah, we're gonna merge our intervals. And so how we do that is we're just going to change the last element in our answers array, right? We just need to change this part and then we have it merged. So since again we sorted it, right, we know that the first element will always be the minimum one of the interval. So all I need to do is I just need to do this, like the last element and its first element, which is the 0th index. And this one I want to do the maximum of the two ends, right? So the maximum of this element, so not this element specifically, but the second element in this current interval that I'm looking at, and this element right here, right? Maximum of these two will be the max interval, and that will be the whole interval, right? So in this case, 3 and 6, the maximum would be 6, right? And that's what we see here, 1 comma 6. In this case here, we see 4 and 5, the maximum is 5, so it's 1 comma 5. So that's what that's doing. Else, we know that this is not actually an interval that needs to be merged, and so all we just do is we just push that current interval into our array, our answers array, and this should be it. So we can first run this and see if we made any silly mistakes here and there. And yeah, you see all these two cases are passing, so we'll just go ahead and submit it, and this should be it. So yeah, let me know if you enjoyed the solution, and please write down in the comment section below if you think this could have been made any better, or any questions that you might have about the code. But yeah, make sure to like, subscribe to the channel. I hope to see you soon.